Hey, strong people, Beck here, and thanks for listening to another Strong Talk podcast. This week's guest is Kaitlin Burgess. She's just a couple days away from competing in the first ever Arnold Pro Strongwoman contest. Of course, we had past guests Donna Moore and Kristen Rhodes, who are the only people to ever win the Arnold Amateur contest. But this is the first year that there's going to be a pro division. We talk about that, the infamous Jacksonville Platinum Plus, the SoFit or whatever it was called. But that's where she was she got third, I believe, at that contest. I may be wrong, so don't kill me. And to qualify for for the pro strongwoman at the Arnold. And wasn't sure during the interview, but I've heard that Flow Elite will be live streaming that event, and they are lifting Friday at 11 a.m. I'm going to assume that this is Columbus, Ohio time, and then Saturday at 1:30 p.m. So you can check that out on flowelite.com, along with the amateur competition, which past guest Donna Moore is going to be competing in. You may be asking why Donna Moore would be in the amateur division, and I think we've talked about that in the past. We talked about that in the Arnold preview that Mike Badalino and myself did last week, and I just didn't really want to get into that whole can of worms with Kaitlin, and take away from her accomplishments qualifying for it and all the other accomplishments of the women that are competing, that are deserving to be there in the pro show. But I do think it is unfortunate that we are not seeing Donna and et cetera, and Kaitlin all competing together. Obviously, I think that would have been the most stacked strongman show of all time, and hopefully next year or sometime in the future we get to see such a lineup. So there's going to be good lifting on all fronts. As far as, of course, go to startingstrongman.com, store.startingstrongman.com to get all your gear. Have been selling a ton of the grip shirts, which are back in stock. That order is going to ship out soon. I'm supposed to get delivery of that by the end of the week, and ordered a bit more than originally thought, just because of the demand than I originally intended. So appreciate that. Those, of course, are at store.startingstrongman.com, along with SBD gear, which you can get there. They're amazing belts, knee sleeves, etc. Kaitlin is sponsored by SBD. It's what she wears. It's what I believe a lot of the athletes that are going to be competing this weekend at the Arnold wear. So check that out. Get some SBD swag. We got figure 8 straps. Strongman programming. Our starting strongman templates are $15 now, but you can use the code StrongTalk and save $5 per month. That gets you a general training template to be better at strongman for just $10 a month if you use code StrongTalk. And you can get that at strongmanprogram.com, or just visit it through the store. You can get one-on-one training with myself, my co-host Mike Badalino, Kaitlin's coach Brian Barrett. There's options for all of that at strongmancoach.com through Starting Strongman if you need help training for your upcoming competition. You can follow Kaitlin at Heart of a Gypsy Girl. We talk about that, where that name came about at the end of the podcast. And I'll stop rambling. Looking forward to doing an Arnold wrap-up show. Probably do that. That's probably going to be the next podcast. And then start interviewing some of the athletes that competed at the Arnold in the amateurs, pros, on the pro strongwoman side, and the pro men's side, hopefully. And we got, of course, it's unfortunate Zadrunas had to pull out. Martins Lisi is competing in his place at the pro, and I'm really excited to see how he did. Should have a bunch of great shows. Appreciate everyone listening. Give Strong Talk a 5-star rating and review on iTunes or whatever podcast app you use. It really, really helps, and I appreciate it. And yeah, I think I'm rambling enough. Oh, there's also a Starting Strongman app. Just search Starting Strongman in Google Play or the App Store and download that, and that'll help you whenever one of these podcasts is put out, or a new article like who won the Arnold updates, like Zadrunas getting injured. That's gonna be right there on your phone. right there instead of going to the website, since no one goes to websites anymore except for a couple thousand of you that do every week or every day to start in Strongman. But a nice extra feature, and then there's a whole discussion board in there inside the app as well. So download the Starting Strongman app, and let's listen to another episode of Strong Talk Podcast with guest this week, Kaitlin Burgess. Welcome to the Strong Talk Podcast. It's joined by Kaitlin Burgess, also known as was it Kathy Burgers, your alter ego?
Yes, Kathy Burger.
Yeah. Right before we started to record, Mike reminded me of that story, which is pretty great. Which you're known as Kathy Burgers by the legendary Bill Kazmaier. I remember when I was down for the Kaz. It was a couple months ago. You told me the story. So what is the story behind Kathy Burgers?
So last year at the Arnold, we had just landed, and it was me, Brian, and a couple of other people. And Brian sees Bill Kazmaier walking down the street downtown, and I am new to the sport. I'm new to strength sports in general, so I have no idea who Bill Kazmaier is. So he's walking down the street, and Brian almost wrecks the van. He's like, "Oh my God, there's Bill Kazmaier," and I was like, "Okay, whatever." Well, I played it off, and he was like, "You know who that is?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally." And he's like, "Yeah, he's like world's strongest man, blah, blah." And he like kind of explains it to me. And then we get back to the hotel later on, and I'm asking Sarah, a girl that was with us, I said, "Hey, what was that guy's name again?" I said, "Was it Bob Cashmere?" And she just died. And then she threw me under the bus with everybody. So it's just an ongoing joke. Well, when Bill came to visit Texas for the Bill Kazmaier in Arlington, Brian told him the story on the way picking him up from the airport. So when he got to the house for dinner, he goes, "Who's Kaitlin?" And I was like, "Oh, it's me." He's like, "Hey, Bob Cashmere, it's nice to meet you." And so he jokingly calls me Kathy Burger in place of that.
It's perfect. And by not knowing and getting his name wrong, you actually leave a more of an impression compared to everyone that comes up and says, "Oh, Bill Kazmaier, so nice to meet you." So then
Oh, absolutely.
you kind of got an in now. But
for sure.
So speaking of the Arnold, we're gonna go back to like how you got started in Strongwoman and all that. But I want to talk about at the beginning. Speaking of the Arnold last year, now getting ready for the Arnold Pro Strongwoman, the first ever, just in a couple of days now.
Yes.
Being a couple of days out, so what's everything look like? Just leading up the last couple of days, just getting everything ready. No more training, or you got a couple more training sessions planned?
No more training. I did my last training session actually this morning. I was trying to get it in yesterday, but I was going on about 5 hours of sleep, so I just didn't make it to the gym. But I did my last training session this morning, and I'll do cardio probably Monday and Tuesday just because that's what I'm used to. I'm used to cutting weight. I'm used to my body being under pressure. I'm used to doing cardio up until like a couple days before weigh-ins. And so I'm trying to just stay within somewhat of the same motions because I'm not cutting, and I've gained like 10, 15 pounds on top of that. Trying to come in, obviously, at a little bit heavier weight because the weight is so heavy.
Yeah, it's this open weight contest, and I've had the same thing, most of the time for a big contest cutting weight, and then I feel like when I don't, it's almost like, what do I do this last week? Because all you're focusing on is that cutting weight, and it almost makes it easier because you have something else to focus on. There's still something to do once you're done training and you're resting for 7-8 days, whatever it may be.
Right.
So I think it's smart to keep that same kind of routine with, of course,
Absolutely.
actually drinking water, which is nice. But
yeah, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about the Arnold Pro Strongwoman. Is there an official name for it, or is it just the Pro Strongwoman at the Arnold? I guess is the best way to refer to it.
I think it's just the Pro Strongwoman.
Yeah, that's one. So you guys are competing, if I have this right, on Friday and Saturday?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and starting at 11, you got a keg carry medley and a hammer of strength. And then 4 p.m., you got 10 stones of steel on the road stage. So, first off, what is a hammer of strength?
So hammer strength goes back to, I think, 2003. The strongman for the pro men at the Arnold, and it almost looks like a single fingers, but it has a hammer at the end of it, and it's the exact same concept as the single finger, but once you get it up past a certain height, it catches a notch, so it doesn't ever fall back on you.
So it's the deal that keeps clicking on the way up, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So as it goes up, and as it actually goes up, it kind of it supposedly gets a little bit heavier the way the weight's set on it, and then I guess it's just whoever gets it up the fastest, or I'm not really sure how it works, but I definitely haven't done anything for it.
We'll find out. Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. That's such a an odd, different event than we're used to. How have you been training for an event like that?
I've been doing Zerchers. I don't know if you've been seeing me killing myself over Zerchers on the internet, but mainly Zerchers. Brian showed me with a regular barbell, and you stick it in a landmine and put a bunch of weight on it and just kind of get used to that kind of cleaning type motion. So that's kind of helped, but we don't have a single finger or anything like that. So I've got a lot of power in my hips, and that's where that's going to come from.
Yeah, a lot of the time. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
So are they using the same piece of equipment that they used 14 years ago?
No, she's having something brand new made, but she sent us a video from the 2003 Pro and said it's going to be like this.
I'm just wondering, where the hell did that thing go after 2003?
No doubt. I have no idea.
It's huge.
Somebody's got to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my exact thought as well, is just you see all these giant apparatuses that are made and they're in one or two shows, and then sometimes you'll even see them 10 years later and like, oh yeah, we just had this in storage somewhere. It's just
right. They should. That would be smart.
Yeah, they already had it. It's probably still fine. It's only been used a few times.
Right.
But I see that second event, so we got 10 stones of steel so it's a 10.
It's crazy.
Ridley. That's insane. I mean, it's gonna be cool
it is
to watch.
Absolutely insane.
So, first off, that Bartos has to, drag 10 of those things in his big van out to Columbus. I guess he's not too far, so it's easier to do. That's a lot of stones of steel, and I think it's cool to finally see them in a series versus over bar.
Right.
Yeah. So how the hell do you train for a 10-stone series? Have you actually worked up in training doing, that many stones?
Absolutely. I'm obviously, stones is probably one of my favorite things and my more better things. Our men's, it's the men's stone of steel, so it's the big one this year. It's not the women's size, so that actually makes it different too and a little bit more challenging. But I just practice over the bar just so I can have that consistent repetition going, and I don't stop, and I try and make it like 190, 200, and just go for those reps as many as I can go. I usually do between 8 and 10 because I want to get used to my hips being fatigued as I get to those last 4 reps that are heavier. So that's how I've been training for that.
Yeah.
What are the weights for the series?
If I'm not mistaken, it's 150, 170, 190, 210, and 220.
Wow.
So you have to do 2 reps with them?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
And I'm assuming, since there's going to be 10 stones, I'm assuming it's going to just be, you're not going to like load one stone onto the platform and then drop it. I think it's going to be all in a row.
Yeah, I'd hope so. That would be it would look a lot better. Even, it's a big,
right.
It's like it's almost like a set up like a ladder with that many events, like how CrossFit will do, like a power clean ladder with this huge line of barbells or something.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that'll be a cool event. I think the Arnold set up a little bit differently this year from what
It is.
With the different stages and everything. So that one, it says it's on the Rogue stage. So I don't know. I guess it's cool that Rogue's supporting it so much that they have their own stage now for events at the Arnold. But I don't know how that's going to compare to the main stage everyone kind of is familiar with, that's, you know, been to or watched the Arnold or clips online. Everyone
Right.
says the stage, they think of that, you know, old one where the, you know, some of the bodybuilding and the thing goes, but I think there's like multiple stages this year.
Yeah, I think there's 3 stages, but we're competing on 2.
Okay.
3.
Are all of your events taking place on one of those main stages?
No, yes, they are. I thought you were going to ask if they were all going to be on the Rogue, and I was like, no, they're not.
No, you just said they're going to be on 2. I was kind of paying attention. So going back, we have, you know, there's a good amount of competitors. You know, you have yourself. We have Brooke Souza, Julia Rader, Brittany Cornelius, you know, Kimberly Lawrence, Leafa Ingalls, you know, the lightweights, Leslie Hoffins, Jessica Kite. You know, there's pretty much how it worked out is everyone from the 3 weight classes that took a, you know, top, you know, X amount from the strongest woman in the world in Florida, you know, that infamous Florida contest that seems to get brought up in some capacity every week or every time we interview someone. They took all from every weight class, and now this is just open weight, and it's extremely heavy events. So how do you see that working out with, you know, obviously, you know, some of the middleweights and are, you know, they're, I think, right up there with some of the heavyweights, you know, maybe a little bit better conditioning, maybe not quite as heavy on the deadlift. How do you, it's going to be a weird mix of different skills and body types.
Well, I'm super pumped. That's one of the things that I'm excited about, is because, I mean, right now it's anybody's game. There's not one person that's going in there that's going to be like, hey, I'm going to win this. And I think that's really neat because, granted, it is a super heavy comp, and obviously the heavyweight girls comps are always heavier than the middleweight. But like you said, middleweight sometimes can move a little bit quicker and move differently and sometimes more efficiently than some of the heavyweights. And that kind of makes up for a 500-pound deadlift or a 125 dumbbell. You know what I mean? So it's going to be, I think it's going to be definitely, give or take, I mean, it's going to be a close race for sure for everybody.
Yeah. Plus with, you know, stuff like you know, a 10-stone series, that's, you better have, like you said, your hips and condition to be able to load. You know, it doesn't matter if you're good for 60 pounds more. If, you know, if you could do a 280 stone of steel or something, it's not going to matter.
Absolutely.
By you get done to 9 and you're gas. So it's the conditioning factor there.
Yes, sir.
And you've also competed at heavyweight, like you said. You're usually cut down to make middleweight at 180. I know there's the great, you know, really good article that kind of went everywhere that Athlete Daily put out, you know, about you, and it was like titled "This is 200 pounds," kind of putting, you know, misconceptions that, you know, everyone thinks, you know, you're 200 pound woman. It's just not you. That's not
right.
The general image. I was looking at it right now just before we started, and I think it's been shared on Facebook close to 10,000 times. It said now, like, you know, over 9.
Yeah, she's had like insane. On her website, like I think like 40,000 people like read that story. So that's really cool.
I'd imagine it's more than that now, based on I know the kind of articles I put out that have had 40,000 views and having 10,000. You know, I think it was like 9,200 shares on Facebook alone. It's probably a lot more than that now.
Maybe that was just the visits to her webpage. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's, you know, that's cool. And it's if anyone wants to check it out, I'm going to put it in the link. Put the link in the show description. But yeah, it's a really cool article, kind of telling your story. So getting to that, you kind of it seems like you just had like a big change in your life and started working out. Probably the same reason that most everyone does is, you know, like, I just want to like feel better, look a little better. And, you know, I think Brian Barrett and others, you know, saw that you had some potential, and then you kind of started taking it seriously. So, you know, how did you get into doing Strongman, Strongwoman contests in the first place?
Brian and I had some mutual friends on Facebook, and my cousin went to high school there and played football there. So I was friends with some people at the high school that Brian used to be a strength and conditioning coach at. And he was putting on North Texas Strongest Man. I think it's been 3 years now. And we had talked back and forth about it, and he was like, well, the comp is in like 4 weeks. You can come up here on Saturdays, and I'll show you how to do the event. And I think you'll be good. And I was kind of like, whatever, this guy's crazy. Like, there's no way I'm going to get this. And so I came up one day, and he showed me I came from like CrossFit and weightlifting. So he just kind of showed me the motions of like how to do things and like how to flip the tire and how to pick up the farmer's walk and stuff like that. And I did my first comp. I placed second place, and that was kind of it. I was kind of like, I think I'll do this. But I waited. I blew him off for probably like 3 or 4 months, and then I was like, okay, I'm serious. I really want to try this, and I went from there.
Yeah, and here we are now competing at the first Arnold Pro. Of course, there's a couple things in between.
Of course.
So when you started, like you said, you had that perception, like, I don't think I can do that. Then once you actually try, you realize you can. So was there something where, Strongwoman and, the events, I mean, it might not seem the same way now looking back, but are they a little bit more intimidating than just like, CrossFit's kind of marketed to be all encompassing and inviting? Is that what you
right? Yeah, I mean, I think it was more the fact of like the unknown. Like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You don't know what you're doing. You don't like these implements, these things, like you don't see them. They're not at 90% of the gyms out there, and people don't know what to do. And like I said in the article with Athlete Daily, like, just go over there and pick the shit up. Like, don't be scared of it. Like, people don't want to look stupid, or people don't want to fail. And I think one of your biggest successes in strongman is to fail and to learn from your failure and grow in it. And that's kind of the route I've taken with it.
Yeah, it's just it's amazing. I used to teach some strongman classes at a CrossFit gym, and the perception, people like, or even just doing the events themselves, like doing a log clean press when everyone else is just doing jerks with a barbell, and everyone goes, oh, how heavy is that? And you're like, well, this is only like 180 pounds. You're doing 220 or something. And they just don't, it's the same reason why, strongman's kind of made to showcase feats of strength so they look impressive to the general public, but it's the same thing that makes it so cool, almost hurts it from, trying to get people involved. And
right.
It's a weird little predicament that it's in. So yeah, and like you said, I think the sport definitely humbles you. If you're going to try to compete at a high level, there's always going to be, eventually there's going to be someone bigger and better than you. So you have to learn how to accept, that you can't do everything. And that's a great, I think that just carries over to life in general. Once you realize, like, okay, I can't just walk around posturing how I'm, the strongest guy in my neighborhood or gym or whatever. Eventually you're going to get to a point where you have to just keep working harder. So as you you're doing local shows. I've noticed I think, I met you a couple years back at a real local show, just in, some parking lot in where is it? Lubbock, Texas?
Amarillo.
Wherever it was. Yeah. Amarillo. But then you go to nationals, you start moving up and doing that. What's the transition like once you start, getting into a higher level contest where you're not the, baddest chick on the block, and everyone else is fighting for second place in a way. Like, even in that one you tied, but it's
yeah, I don't know. It's been, I wouldn't even say there's been a transition. I feel like since me, Danny Schwabe, and Kimmy, like at that time at nationals, that first year that we were all at nationals, it was our first time to be at nationals. And we've all just kind of been a pack, including Leifa, Kristen Johnson, and I think that's it. But we've kind of been a pack at all the comps from here on out. So it's never been a transition. It's just like Dione throws weights at us, and we're like, okay. It's just like Brian adjusts my programming. He just adds weight. And it's like nothing's changed almost. It's just gotten heavier. You know what I mean? each time we compete with these girls, we know that Danny Schwabi will almost have every pressing event. But from there on out, I mean, we go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, it's a great group of girls, and they are all super strong and super stacked. And it's just neat to see all of us kind of go from where we were to now. And it just, nothing has like overcome us yet. You know what I mean? As middleweight women.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's interesting because it is, the weight class was changed, I think the year before that nationals you're talking about to 180, if I'm right. So you're kind of just pioneers. There's people like, well, we don't know what, a 180-pound woman can do. And you guys just kind of came into the sport. It wasn't like there was an established, you're not looking up like, oh, this is the Brian Shaw of the middleweight division. It's just you guys all kind of came in at the same time. So yeah, that is different. You're kind of growing it yourselves and pushing the boundaries. Huh? Yeah. So that makes it a little different than every other one. It's interesting. So going in, it's the same group of same group of women. You compete at nationals, then you kind of come back. You see each other at the Arnold last year. Then you get up, but the difference there is you're up on that main stage on Sunday, and you made the main stage.
Oh yeah.
What was that? It kind of changes the dynamic because then you got this whole. You're up above everyone. There's just bright lights. How was that?
I will say, this is going to sound weird but funny. Being on the ground, like where we competed the first day, that was way, way more nerve-wracking. And it showed my very first event. I was humbled by that log. I just got the shakes and the jitters, and I was strict pressing my log, not even using my legs. And I only got like 2 or 3 reps, which the previous week before I'd gotten like 6 or 7, completely bombed it. And then when we got to main stage, the lights are in your face. You can hear, but it's like you're so on the zone, and you just have like that one event. You don't even really pay attention because, like you said, you're a little bit higher up. These lights are shining in your face. You can't see much. And honestly, I really don't want to look out in the crowd. I don't want to see all those people because it makes you nervous, So it was a little bit less nerve-wracking to be on main stage with that adrenaline was going too. You know what I mean? It's almost like tunnel vision.
Sure. Plus, I feel like the first day, that it's getting cut down to 4, which is there's no room for error there. So you're almost once you've made the main stage, you kind of almost probably accomplished one of the goals you had. I'd imagine.
Absolutely.
So you're like, okay, I made it. Now this is just all fun. I will see. You're pretty much almost guaranteed a podium spot. You already know. Worst you're going to end up is 4th overall in the world. So can't really complain about that. Yeah, it is it. So it's definitely an interesting concept. Then going into strongest woman in the world, like you said, it pretty much ends up being the same class. You kind of know who's who. There was before that there was an announcement that pretty much everyone on the main stage, if I'm remembering right, got their pro card. And like you said earlier, being new to the sport, how that pretty much saying, hey, this thing you accomplished a couple months ago, now we're post, we're gonna award you professional status. What went through your mind when you learned that? It was announced.
I mean, I thought it was cool. I didn't really grasp the effect of it because immediately so many people had their comments and their opinions on the situation. The only one thing, I mean, it's neat and it's cool because from here on out, when you look back, you're always going to be like part of the first group that got their pro cards. You know what I mean? So that's really cool, especially if the sport continues to grow and this whole pro division explodes. That'll be really cool to be a part of. But I mean, I just was like, cool, I got a pro card. Now let's just keep going and kicking ass. Like, let's win something. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, because you've gotten second, third at all these big shows, and don't hate me if I'm wrong, but you haven't, it's been the bridesmaid, so to say, so far. So
I know that's
which, that's a great accomplishment, but it gets to that point where you're just like, I want to walk away and be like, I'm not second strongest woman in the world. I'm first.
Right.
So,
Well, you know what? I think it also makes the process more humbling, and it makes me a lot more appreciative because, you know, some people just walk in and win first, or they dominate every single competition. And it's like, you know, I really have to bust my ass and work and not make mistakes. You know what I mean? Like I can't afford to make a mistake. You know, so it's made it a lot more when I do win, because I will win. It's definitely going to be a really good moment and kind of like a sigh of relief to know that all that training for X amount of years has paid off. You know what I mean?
sure. Keeps you hungry. I feel like once you get that championship, then it's like, okay, I feel like some people, they get that, like they have this target on their back. Now they have to not lose. It's not a quest to win anymore. It's to not lose.
Well, yeah. And it's like, just because you win, I don't care if you win one time or 100 times, there's always somebody out there that is training just as hard, if not harder, and that's coming for you. And, you know, you're still there. Like you said, there's still people hungry. Like you can't get too comfortable with your spot being there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So
Do you remember? Oh, go ahead.
yeah, no, you go ahead, Mike. I talk enough.
Do you remember what Bob Cashmere, Bill Kazmaier, what he said about the doves when we were at that seminar? Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, when he talked about how, you know, when you win and you hold on to a dove, it's like a dove, and you hold on to it for a moment, and then if you keep holding on to it, it's just eventually going to die. Or if you let it go, you keep going for something. You keep pressing forward. So it was pretty awesome. That was a pretty awesome moment to be there.
Yeah, it's a great analogy.
Yeah, Bob Cashmere always has good things to say. So if you want to hear him talk, I'd go to one of these upcoming Bill Kazmaier Speaks events. Yeah, just for little things like that. If you actually pay attention and you think about the real meaning, it's gonna have an impact. I think
for sure.
Coming up at the show in North Carolina that Lynn Morehouse is putting on, and I saw there's another one over in England somewhere. Yeah, but those are up on startingstrongman.com/events for under the seminars tab. So check those out. Going into it, how, like, you're basically, thrown into the sport. You have good success right off. I wouldn't say right off the bat. You obviously work hard. I've seen, you're been following your, Instagram at Heart of a Gypsy Girl, pretty much, since I think, after met you a couple years ago at that local show in Amarillo. But a lot of things change. That's grown, that's exploded. With on your Instagram, so you're more visible than a lot of the strong women athletes out there. Just how is all of this? You got a couple sponsors, SBD USA. Matt Vincent's. What's it? Is it Hate Brand?
Hate Brand.
Yeah, I always get mixed up with all the numerals.
Right. Yeah, it's Hate Brand.
So how is it, it's just pretty much, how's it impacted your life? I know it's talked about in that Athlete Daily article, but, it's, looking back from what was that, 3 years ago when I met you to now, you can tell it's, it's just a big difference. So.
Right. I mean, it's been, obviously it's cool when like last year, just example to Arnold, I only had 6,000 followers, and people were coming up to me, Arnold, they're like, oh my God, hey, can I get a picture? Like, they actually, Brian and a couple other people always give me a hard time. They're like, oh my God, Heart of a Gypsy Girl, because it's like a going thing, because every time we go somewhere, someone's like, oh my God, can I take a picture? Or I've been following you, it's so great. And right when we walk in the doors to weigh in, a guy from Denmark comes up, he's like, oh my God, can I get a picture with you? Like, I follow you on Instagram, and it just fuels the fire. But I mean, it's been great. Matt is a great guy, and he's helped a lot. But I mean, I could have 1 million followers on Instagram, or have be in the eye, and it's not going to change me. I really like helping people, and I constantly get messages, and Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that about, oh, what's your diet like? What do you do? Can you train for me? Can you do this? Can you do that? And that's been really cool because I don't mind it at all. I don't mind helping people out or, informing people because I didn't really have anybody to inform me. And I was super intimidated by the women that did the sport. So Brian really just kind of guided me and helped me figure it out. And I would ask Brian, hey, this or that. And he would, give me an extremely honest answer. But I mean, I feel like nothing's going to change me, but for the better,
Yeah, no, it's not change your personality or anything, but it's just it's cool to have that impact. And I don't think people realize this as an athlete that when you are one of the athletes that for whatever reason gets traction and you kind of put it out there and you get a bigger following, is that especially being at the start of this middleweight division and now pro Strongwoman being literally one of the originals, is that everyone else looking up, they're going to search Strongwoman or whatever on Instagram or something. They're probably going to find you or a couple others, and that's going to be like their inspiration to even start it. I don't think people realize this, and I don't think I realized some of the things. Like I was trying to do the same thing with the 175 class when I was competing, and it was kind of starting to be a new thing. Is you don't realize that like how helpful, like it can seem like overwhelming, and you're getting all these Instagram messages and weird comments and stuff, but you end up impacting a lot of people's lives, and nothing's what's better than that, actually helping someone try to better themselves. It does have an impact like that, and I think it's great. And
absolutely,
I'm looking forward to seeing what all plays out with this pro class and everything, because it's like you said, it's cool to be one of the first, but it's really cool to be one of the first if it takes off and it keeps going, and there's more opportunities, which it seems like there is. I know, Lynn Morehouse has a pro women's division in his show in North Carolina. I saw some show up in Canada. Have you looked at anything else on the radar after the Arnold? Just Zoom?
I'm still up in the air about. No, I'm still in the air about doing the Lynn Morehouse. I think it's in. I thought it was in Atlanta, Georgia. Maybe I'm wrong.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Is that the one? I don't know, but she does have a pro division, and I kind of looked at that one because, just to keep me in that competitive spirit. I like competing, and now that, I've been doing the Arnold and we have nationals and World Strongest Woman and all this stuff, it's hard to do like the small local comps. Mm-hmm. And when you compete locally, I think and I'm not trying to sound like boost my ego or anything, but it kind of discourages the women that locally, because they're like, oh, she's competing, might as well forget it. You know what I mean? And so I always want to give everybody a fair chance. Like, I don't think at nationals competing as a middleweight would have been quote unquote fair, because technically I already had my pro card and I'd already competed at World's Strongest Woman and at the Arnold. And I just didn't think it was fair to like almost stay in the same place and kick everybody's ass. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not that would have happened, but I'm just saying, I'd rather see new middleweight women come in and go to the Arnold and get their pro cards versus me take a spot,
100%. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's the other question with when they start a pro card, the other side of it, and it's not set in place. It's not like the standard like it is for heavyweight men. They got shows all over the world. There's a set, like this is all building. So that's the downside, is it says, okay, now I can't really compete locally, do all these shows I used to do. Plus it's like, for someone coming into the sport, they want to do their first show. They're like, I don't know if I should compete novice or open. Then they have this person, whether they might even be on your level, you never know. Like, people come in, they're athletes.
100%.
They're going to say, oh, she's a pro, she's competed here. Why I can't do that? It seems more, they're kind of aspiring to get that same kind of spot. So, but you also don't know what pro shows are going to come up. So it almost limits what you can do. And, you know, so
Right.
that's the weird predicament. You know, there's no going backwards.
No, and like I just want to touch on what you just said about you never know like who can be quote unquote on your level, and that's so true. And that's what I love about the sport is you never know. Even me competing locally, even if it's heavyweight or me competing back at nationals, you never know. Like that goes back to the whole you can't get comfortable just because I competed pro or I competed at the Arnold. That doesn't mean I'm the best of the best, and that doesn't mean that I can't go to a local small comp with 5 girls competing and lose. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've always believed there's always somebody that's training harder than you and that is better than you. Always. And you just never know when they're going to come out of the woodwork and get you.
Yeah, and it's so new that you know you just don't know what types of athletes are going to transition over to the sport too. It's
right.
literally like, you know, and yeah, I think a lot of new competitors, they look at it, but you look at your success, it's like you know, you're successful, you know, it would seem, you know, fairly short amount of time. It's, you know, a lot of with like, we'll take, you know, the most established class in Strongman is the heavyweight division for men. So
right.
because it's been around the longest. So you take them, there's guys that, you know, they're training 5-6 years before they even get their pro card.
Right, exactly.
That's more the norm. Then there's every now and then there's an exception where someone gets it, you know, within a year or two, but that's by far the exception. So,
right.
You know, where you're within 2 years, you're placing at nationals, you know, et cetera, on podium of pretty much every major competition, just because it is so new. And you're kind of leading that way. So looking into, have you paid any attention to what's going on the amateur side of the Strongwoman contest? Do you have any
oh, absolutely.
thoughts or predictions on who's competing there?
No, I'm not going to give a prediction, but I definitely am excited to see how there's a couple of middleweight girls that I'm going to say I haven't seen them before. I think I saw them at nationals. I'm excited to see how they compete. And honestly, I'm really excited to see how Brittany Diamond comes back because, granted, you know, she did go out with an injury or two, 1 or 2 injuries. But sometimes that quote-unquote lighter work and cardio, that makes you strong. And I would like to see her come back and kick some butt and be up there with the rest of us girls because I feel like she's, you know, she's an athlete and she's good and she can compete with the rest of us. I just think she has to be surrounded with people that are as good, if not better than her. And then that's when she gets better. You know what I mean? From her injury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had the back.
So I don't know.
I think it is a great point where when you go from competition to competition, it's just you're pretty much in, you know, 8 to 12 week training cycle with, you know, leading up to competition weights overall. Eventually something's got to go and there's no real off season. But you have to build that base and give your body a break. You look at Zadrunas Savickas, they go, what's he doing with all this bodybuilding movements and doing all these machine works and, you know, in between major comps? And, well, it's like he's not pounding himself with, you know, 1,000-pound yokes year round because he that's why he's able to do this and for so long. Yeah, that's something that people take for granted. So yeah, I'm excited to see how she does. And yeah, and you're dead on with that. She got second at that nationals, to barely to Danny, and then you know just missed the podium. So she's right there. And that just shows how close things can be.
Oh yeah, I mean in the middleweight class we are always like a 1/10 of a point or 100th of a point away from each other. I mean it's always so close.
Yeah, it's an exciting.
And all it takes is that one mistake.
Yeah, and I think she had like some weird on the last medley where they didn't count like a implement being down or something, and that's just how it goes sometimes. It's out of your control.
Yeah.
It's just there's
I learned at nationals I slid the Zercher carry. I started to kind of black out, and I thought I was closer to the finish line, and I dropped it, and I slid across, and I got a 2-second sliding penalty. And I'm pretty sure we did the math, and if I wouldn't have gotten that sliding penalty, I would have been first. I would have gotten first or second at nationals, but instead I got third.
Yeah, but
so needless to say, I'll never drop another implement across the finish line.
No, you go 5 feet past it.
Absolutely.
leave no room for error. That's the best way to do it. And it's hard when you're in the heat of the competition and those tenths of a second, so you're trying to gain that tenth of a second, and then
right.
Sometimes just that trying to gain that tenth of a second costs you a whole second. It's just how it goes.
Right.
But so this open weight contest, you competed heavyweight at nationals, but I mean, appearing, I don't know if you're just using good filters or what, but it looks like you've gotten leaner. You said you gained weight, so
yeah, I mean, I've gained like 10, 15 pounds. And I definitely have noticed like changes in my body, like being leaner.
Mm-hmm.
I do carry I feel like more water weight than the average person, but I mean, no, my legs are freaking huge right now. And obviously my legs are solid muscle, but no, I've been trying to like eat more, but like not junk. You know what I mean? I'm not just sitting around eating pizza and cupcakes. I'm definitely eating high protein meals, more protein shakes, and I don't take any supplements or anything like that, but I've been trying to put on good weight, really for that deadlift. And, those kegs are pretty heavy too.
Yeah, but that's what I had no idea. I was figuring, I was kind of looking, I'm like, why is she cutting? This is going to be a heavy contest. It's open weight, but I had no idea that you've actually gained 10 pounds because, visually you look leaner. So you're obviously doing it right. That's great. So how heavy are the implements at this contest? I know we touched on something earlier. You also have like a circus dumbbell, a deadlift. What are we talking about? They're going to be doing.
The deadlift is an axle deadlift at 13 inches, and it's 500 pounds. And then the circus dumbbell for reps is 125, which that's becoming like my favorite thing. That's probably my worst event is that dumbbell, just in general, not like just at this comp, but just in general. It's always been my weakest point. And it's just funny because we go from my very first nationals with the dumbbell to a 90-pound dumbbell. Then we go to World's Strongest Woman, and I think it was 100 or 110. Then we go to nationals, and it's heavy again in the hundreds. And now we're going again, and it's 125. So it's like I'm repping out 110 right now for several reps. And at World's Strongest Woman, it was 110, and I only got, I think, 2 or 3 reps. Like, it's just funny. And they were like a struggle reps. They weren't like easy by any means. I just think it's cool with that event specifically, how much, like, just to see it grow over a year. Like we've put 20, 30, 40 pounds on our dumbbell in less than a year.
Yeah,
Is this the new dumbbell? The new Bartos dumbbell that you guys
I
are
have not
using?
touched the new Bartos. No, I have not.
Oh, I mean, is that what you're using on the stage?
My dumbbell.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're using. Yes, is the new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it's easier than my dumbbell.
Hope so. But yeah, no, that's an insane jump in what's required of the competitors in just a year time.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, and it's also funny because like 125, I remember. Hell, I think that's what the weight was at nationals or something for the lightweight men just a year or two ago, which didn't make sense. I thought it was too light anyways, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, it's getting to the point where, since it is such a new thing, we really don't know what's capable, and it's cool to keep pushing these boundaries. And 500-pound axle deadlift for reps. It's one of those events where you kind of have to go, okay, this is gonna be fun. 'Cause I think that's I think how events like that go is, I think once it's announced, it might be above a lot of the athletes max, and then you think, oh, how are you going to do that? And the amazing thing about this sport is you have to rise to the occasion. So then I don't really see, I think people are going to be surprised how many reps a lot of the women are going to get, where in a couple months.
Yeah, and that's what told Dione, I said, it's so cool. I said, no matter what weight you throw at us, and this was speaking in the middleweight terms, I said, no matter what weight you throw at us, we always rise to the occasion. Like, you haven't thrown anything at us yet that we've been like, no, this isn't going to work, or us girls have like zero. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've always just, whether it's 1 rep, 2 reps, or 10 reps, we've always rose to the occasion. And I think that's super awesome with that, just referring to us as athletes in general and the sport. It just shows that you can do anything, like literally anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, that kind of drive, once you realize that, I think it just carries over to life in general, is
for sure.
What I've gotten out of the sport. And I see, because, at the end of the day, competing's fun. It's all this, but we all have normal lives and everyday challenges and stuff to live. And, it's not too many people are, there's the Brian Shaws and Hafthor Bjornsons of this world that are actually making money doing this and making it their career. But if
right,
you get that out of that, then that just carries over to everything else. Going, okay, just put a plan together. If I put this kind of plan together, I can probably accomplish these other goals I have.
Right.
Approach it the same way. But yeah, really appreciate your time. I know you're leading up to this contest. It's kind of weird sometimes to talk about something you're going to do right before it. Wish you good luck. You can, of course,
thank you so much.
Follow you at Heart of a Gypsy Girl on Instagram.
So what does Heart of a Gypsy Girl mean? Where does that come from?
I get that question a lot. I think it's more of the fact that I'm super not tied down with anything in my life. I do kind of like the gypsy type lifestyle. I dress very shabby chic. I don't know. It's just my soul. Like, I'm not tied to anything. I'm not just because I lift weights doesn't mean that I'm a gym rat. You know what I mean? I still like ride horses and, run or do different things. And my whole life I've always been a free spirit and just kind of did whatever I want, and just wherever the wind takes me is kind of how I go.
So you're not going to be like
awesome.
Everyone else, once they get a pro card, they change their name to Pro Strongwoman, this or that.
No, sir. Yeah, I'm not going to make T-shirts either that say Pro Kaitlin Burgess.
No, it would say Pro Kathy Burgers, just to be clear.
I know, right? Now, if I'm bringing in a significant amount of money and making money, oh heck yeah, I will. I'll put my name on whatever it needs to be put on.
Sure, absolutely understand, and there's always more to life than sport and lifting odd objects, but for now, we just look forward to you lifting some odd objects and putting on a show and, being a trendsetter and doing this first Strongwoman series. Of course, the first pro Strongwoman at the Arnold, and hopefully this keeps taking off and keep getting cool opportunities. And you can get to the point where, you get where a sponsor goes, we need you to change your name to Pro Strongwoman Kathy Burgers. And
absolutely.
We're coming out with your signature line of T-shirts, and you're rolling it in, and we can all dream.
Hey, Matt Vincent, he came out with gypsy. I think he called them Gypsy Girl shorts, and they were just like little black spandex shorts with his emblem on them. And he sold the crap out of those things. So you never know.
Hopefully, you got some royalties from it then. So.
I know, right? I did.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Glad to hear it. Good luck at the Arnold. Always good talking to you, and we'll catch up and see how you did, and always report on it. And of course, everyone listening, give it a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. It helps us out. Appreciate everyone downloading. Like I said, Mike doesn't even know that he's like, oh, we're getting 10,000. He's bragging about that. It was actually like 23,000 last month, and this month getting close to that. So appreciate it. And all of you can, of course, follow Kaitlin at Heart of a Gypsy Girl. And we'll do our best to put up some of the news and events as the results come in on Starting Strongman, or share it on our social medias at Starting Strongman. You can follow Mike at Chrono Strength, and have a strong week.